A great party deserves a huge revelation, and so it proved at Star Wars Celebration 23, when Dave Filoni narrowed down the release month of Disney Plus's new Ahsoka series. The streaming giant then gave us a more specific date of August 23rd, when we'll all get to see the adventures of Rosario Dawson's popular, if previously polarizing character. But what's in store for Ahsoka, and what other surprises are we expecting to see in a galaxy that isn't that far away in terms of release date? So a reminder to anyone who hasn't been keeping up with their Star Wars galaxy recently, Ahsoka Tano was introduced as a young Padawan alongside Anakin Skywalker in the animated Clone Wars series, which was George Lucas's last significant involvement in the franchise. Dave Filoni would be the artist credited with developing the original Ahsoka character, and as his stock has risen through critically acclaimed shows like The Mandalorian, as has Ahsoka's herself. Via appearances in the animated Star Wars Rebels, the Jedi Padawan has made the jump alongside Mando to the live-action world. This has led to Ahsoka receiving her own series, which has become one of the hotly anticipated offerings from recent Star Wars releases. It's been 15 years since she made her debut, and the character was gone from an annoyance with fans to the subject of campaigns to get a live-action show into production. Filoni didn't need a second invitation to push the show into development. It offers a great opportunity to tie together threads from Star Wars Rebels, The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, and other loose ends from the post-return of the Jedi Star Wars universe. After some sizzle reel teasers at Star Wars Celebration last year, we knew that the Twi'lek pilot of the Ghost Hera Syndulla would appear, along with a few other returning characters, but there were more questions than answers delivered by Disney, which was almost certainly their intention. In April this year, we were treated to a proper teaser trailer, which gave us a few more details. This one was released to the public and gave us all a first look at the live-action debut of Star Wars Rebels alumni Sabine Wren, Hera Syndulla, as well as a brief look at Ezra Bridger. Other exciting little glimpses included the arrival of Grand Admiral Thrawn and a look at the new Sith character Baylan Skoll. So who's set to appear in the show? Natasha Liu Bordizzo looks like she's going to have a major role as Sabine Wren, if Star Wars Rebels is an indicator of what to expect. Mary Elizabeth Winstead's cover was already blown by her husband Ewan McGregor, who of course plays Obi-Wan Kenobi. She'll be playing Hera. Footage has shown that Genevieve O'Reilly's Rebel founder, Mon Mothma, returns to the screen following her appearance in Andor. Iman Esfandi will play Ezra Bridger, and this will be the live-action debut of that character after being voiced by Taylor Gray in Rebels. The late Ray Stevenson is the exciting new antagonist Baylan, and Ivana Sakno is playing the ambitious Force-wielder villain Shin Hati. Obviously, a notable mention needs to go to Chopper the Droid, with his live-action debut. What are we expecting to happen in Ahsoka? It's set 5 years after Return of the Jedi, and after the end of The Mandalorian Season 2, which gives us some clues as to what to expect. Lars Mikkelsen is appearing as Grand Admiral Thrawn, and it's thought he's going to serve as the main antagonist in the series. Mikkelsen played him in Star Wars Rebels, so this builds the case that plots seen in that show are likely to be influential to Ahsoka. Ezra Bridger's return and a nod to the Rebels show in mural form, as seen in the full trailer, heavily hints at the Ghost Crew making an appearance. The cliffhanger scene in Rebels featuring Thrawn and Ezra suggests that we may see Ahsoka tracking down Thrawn, and this will lead her to one of the Last Jedi. Filoni has also hinted at this being a continuous story, and wants kids who watch the Clone Wars to have grown up to enjoy this new series. So expect narrative rather than episodic adventures. Although we're expecting Sabine Wren to be featured heavily, we're unsure as to what her role will be. We know that she and Ahsoka will meet after time apart, but it's unclear as to whether the two will travel together. All we've seen is that Sabine is seen using Ezra's lightsaber in the extended version of the trailer, so there may well be some teaming up to enjoy. Other little clues as to what we should expect and not expect from the show are the appearance of Chopper, which is another little nod to expect more characters for the Rebels show. However, Stevenson's appearance as Baylan Skoll rules him out to play the character he played in Rebels, Gar Saxon. Therefore, any Saxon fans out there might be left disappointed. Speaking of Rebels, and it's hard not to when Ahsoka is concerned, it's worth looking at how that show ended in more detail to give us a sneak peek of what to expect. You also might be a bit worried if you've not seen the series that you'll have to rush out to watch the whole thing before Ahsoka hits Disney+. First off, that's not the case. The Star Wars team is more than aware they have a tricky job of weaving their animated series and live-action offerings so that 1, they make sense, and 2, they can be viewed and enjoyed in isolation. This is what we expect to happen here, and all the noises out of the Ahsoka camp, most significantly Filoni, which we touched on earlier, are keen for the narrative to be inspired by but not reliant on what's come before. But that being said, let's do a quick recap on Rebels to see what clues we can get from that for what to expect from this new live-action show. The Rebels animated series ended with a huge face-off between the Ghost Crew of Ezra, Hera, Sabine, and Zeb Orrelios against the Empire. Ezra saved his planet as well as his friends by throwing himself into space with Thrawn in tow. Of course, we can't forget the Purrgil space whales that offered up some help. You might be familiar with the whales' live-action debut in The Mandalorian, which will give a little more context to that potentially odd previous statement. This all happened way back in 2018, and ever since has set the stage for Sabine and Ahsoka to look for Ezra. Enter this year's live-action Ahsoka, primed and ready to pick up the story, or at least that'd be the logical place to get started. As we all know, the Star Wars galaxy isn't always a logical place. Someone once thought that Jar Jar Binks was a good idea. Perhaps the biggest talking point with the series is the return of Hayden Christensen. He's been confirmed as having some part in the show, but in what form we're unsure. As the events take place 5 years after the Return of the Jedi, then it must be in flashback form, so this opens the door for him to appear as Anakin Skywalker or Darth Vader. Either way, it's going to be an interesting look at one of the most iconic characters of the Star Wars universe. A lot of people have already been asking the question of whether there will be a season 2 of Ahsoka. No development has been planned so far, but that doesn't mean none will happen in the future. So far, the show has been described as a miniseries, so this season may stand alone. However, we've seen with examples like Loki that Disney Plus is open to picking up a miniseries and running with it, assuming it's popular of course, and we have no reason to believe that Ahsoka won't be popular. The character is already a fan favorite at this point, and with lots of interesting new characters making their live-action debut, as well as completely new personalities being introduced to the Star Wars realm, everything is in place for another successful addition to the story.